everyone. Today's lesson is lesson 22, division with and without remainders. So division and multiplication are inverse operations. I can use division to find a missing factor. Then we can use multiplication to check the division. And that's how I would show up below. So 35 divided by 5 equals 7. So to make sure that's right, I would do 7 times 5 and see if it equals 35. But what happens? But instead of writing a separate multiplication problem, I can always show the multiplication as part of the division problem. So after dividing 35 by 5, I get 7. What I can do is I can multiply 5 times 7, and that equals 35, which I just write right underneath. Okay, so we can see that they're exactly 7 5s and 35. But not all division problems have a whole number quotient or a whole number answer. For example, what if I do 16 divided by 5? If I try to divide 16 into 5 equal groups, we find there is no whole number that's an exact answer. So to answer this question, I think, what number of 5s is close to 16 but not more than 16? Okay, well, I know that that 3 5s is 15. So I put the 3 above the box and the 15 below to show that 5 times 3 equals 15. So I can see that each child will get 3 pennies. But now I still need to find out how many pennies I have left over, let's say. So let's do 16 minus 15. 16 minus 15 is 1. So this leftover amount is called the remainder. And the remainder on this one says that we'll have 1 penny left over. Okay, so how we deal with remainders depends on the question asked. For now, we write the remainder as an R, and then how many was left over? Okay, so this would be 3 remainder 1 is my answer. Okay, all right. To check this is correct, I can do 3 times 5, which is 15, and then add that remainder, which equals 16. All right, so here I have 50 trading cards are to be placed in protective pages. Each page can display 8 cards. How many pages can be filled? And what is the least number of pages that is needed to protect all the cards? So I begin by rewriting the problem with a division box. So I have 50 trading cards and each page can have 8. So I write that. So it's going to be 50 divided by 8. So I'm going to think, what number of 8s is close to but not more than 50? Well, I know that 6 8s is the same as 48. So I think 8 times 6 is 48, and I write that down here. Then I'm going to subtract to find out how much I have left over. So 50 minus 48 is 2. So my answer is 6 remainder 2. Now I have to interpret the answer. So it says, what is the least number of pages that is needed to protect all of the cards? So with this answer here, I would have 6 pages, but I would have 2 cards unprotected. So to protect all of my cards, I have to have 7 pages so that all the cards are covered. All right, what about this problem? At an amusement park, 16 people are waiting in line for a water ride. Each boat holds 6 people. So on A, what is the least number of boats that are needed for everybody to ride? How do you know? B, if 2 boats arrive at the loading dock, how many people will have to wait for a ride? And C, if 3 boats arrive at the loading dock, how many boats could be completely filled? So first, I'm going to divide my 16 people into groups of 6. Okay, and then I'll interpret the answer for each one. So I'm thinking first, 6 groups of how many or 6 people and with what number is close to 16? Well, the closest I can get is with 2. So 6 times 2 is 12. Because if I did 3, 6 times 3 is 18. And that's too big. So I have to do 6 times 12. Okay, so I'm going to subtract, and I have 4 left over. So my answer is 2 remainder 4. So now I'm going to answer the questions. So on A, what is the least number of boats that are needed for everyone to ride? Well, that means I can fill 2 boats, but still have 4 people that aren't in a boat. So for everyone to get a ride, I have to have 3 boats. Okay. On B, it says, if 2 boats arrive, how many people will have to wait for a ride? Well, I know that 2 boats carries 12 people. So if I have only 12 people getting on those boats, that means, if I take 16 and subtract the 12, that means that there are 4 people that are still waiting for a ride. Okay, and that, as you can see, is my remainder. Okay, and the last one says, if 3 boats arrive at the loading dock, how many boats are completely filled? So there will be people in 3 boats, but only 2 of those boats are completely filled because the other boat only has 4 people in it. Okay. Now, for some division problems, we can decide if there will be a remainder before we begin dividing. So this shows 3 different rows from my multiplication table, my 2s, 5s, and 10s. In each row, all the numbers can be divided by the first number in the row without leaving a remainder. Okay, so if you look, in the 2s rows, all of the numbers are even. So if my answer is if my problem has an even number in it, that means that I can divide it by 2. In my 5s row, all of the answers end in either a 5 or a 0. Okay, 5, 0, 5, 0. Okay, and in my 10s row, all of the numbers end in zeros. Okay. If a whole number ending in 0 is divided by 10, we won't have a remainder. If a whole number ends in a 0 or a 5, and I divide by 5, there won't be a remainder. And if my whole number is an even number, and I divide by 2, there won't be a remainder. So this says, without dividing, decide which 2 division problems below will have a remainder. So here I have 16 divided by 2. Well, 16 is an even number, so I know that I can divide it by 2 and not have a remainder. So this one can't be correct because it will not have a remainder. Okay, then we have 40 divided by 5. Well, 40 ends in 0, and I know that 5 goes in evenly to any number that has a 0 at the end. So that's not going to have a remainder. 45 divided by 10. Well, since my last number is a 5, I know that this number will have a remainder because 10, the multiples of 10 all end in 0. Okay, and then 15 divided by 2, well, 2 only goes evenly into even numbers, and 15 is not even. So that means this will also have a remainder. All right, and that's it for this lesson. Good luck on your homework.